saying is, God, I am begging you, I am pleading, I'm begging as if you were having the life of my child in your hands, that you get workers and you rip them out of their life. Rip them away from the stuff that holds them back. All those things that you and I would say, I could do if only I didn't have. If only it worked for. Rip me out of all of that stuff. Rip me away from the pain that I've held on to, the addictions that I've treasured. Rip me out of my own identity and what I think is important. Rip me out of all of that stuff. Rip me away of what I think it is to be a disciple of Jesus, to be a Christian. Rip me away from all of those things and hurl me out. Chuck me out into your field to do your work. This is a radical prayer. Because you're saying, in essence, God, I am asking you to rip the control out of my tightly white-knuckled, clenched fists and do something amazing with me in your harvest. This is not a simple prayer, but I fear that if Jesus were to walk in here into our life, in our community today, he would say the same thing. The harvest, my friends, is huge all around you. You don't even see it, but there's not very many people in the field. So I'm telling you, beg, plead, cry, wail, pick a fit to God, who's in charge of the harvest, and ask him, beg him, plead with him to rip you out of your lives and throw you out into the middle of the harvest where you don't even have a clue what you're doing, sending you out there to do something amazing, because the harvest is dying on the vine. It's rotting there. And I can't stand to see people hurting any longer. I can't stand to see people desperate for me and us driving by in busy lives. So rip out and go. And this happened to me a little bit this week. I like a lot of things about pastoring. Some things I don't like about pastoring. I like church planting better than pastoring. Church planting's fun. One of the things that I don't like, have no desire to do, don't look forward to doing, is doing funerals. Grief. I want to look forward. It's kind of how I'm wired. So this week, I kind of have a plan for my weeks. And I can't say that I always follow them exactly, but I try to have I'm not disciplined enough to actually follow the plan, but I try. So Mondays are big picture days. They're days I get big projects done, long-term stuff. I try to work. I try to hold Mondays off for those kind of things. Do some mentoring and training with ministry directors on Monday. Tuesdays are meeting days and getting business stuff-ish done. It's kind of a frantic, a little bit of everything day. Wednesdays are just pretty much a waste from the get-go as far as anything experience-related, because I spend the day with Cares Time in the morning, which is great fun, and then tracking my weekend show at KTSY and other stuff. So it ends up being a radio station day, and I got frameworks at night, which is super fun. And plug, you should come. And then Thursday, shameless self-promotion. And then Thursday is sermon day. Thursday is when the sermon gets worked on. Okay? And then Friday is pick up the mess of whatever got left off from everything before, spillover sermon, whatever might be on Friday. That's my week. Okay? So Thursday, I get into my day, I got some stuff done, and I start getting some phone calls. We're renting this building. If you're visiting one of our guests here, this is not our building. We are just a passing through. Don't judge us by this building. We just pay rent. And there's another church that rents it, and there are some offices down in that end that a company called Comfort Keepers used to rent. And they called me and they said, we've had a sudden tragic death with one of our staff members. Could we have a memorial service at your building for this person? You understand, the experience passion is to be in the community and impacting, relevant to people's lives and meeting people's needs. So it was like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, there's no question about that. And I got to say, we got some great people, because started making phone calls. Mark had the tables set up like they are now for the weekend. He took them all down and set up 150 chairs, and had to put it all back. Mark Grisham came and helped with food. Heidi came and helped with food. Travis and Chris Jansen came and did music. I mean, we put on and then they said, called up and said, would you mind having the memorial service. I've done one in my life. I've done one funeral. I'm good with that. I was willing to keep that as a record for a while. I was pretty content. One, that's fine. That one was a tragedy. If you've been around the experience for a long time, you remember the story of Dawn driving on her way to the experience from Garden Valley and hit ice and was killed. And that was enough. I was good for about 40 years on funerals. Would you do the service? And I'm being thrown out, picked up, and cast out, driven out. Forced cattle prodded is probably a great metaphor for that. So I said, okay. So I went over and I got to publicly thank Sissa for the greeter shirts. That was Sissa championed those. It was sermon prep day, and I did not dress up because I thought I was going to be in my office by myself. So I was wearing an old T-shirt and jeans. And I'm like, I gotta go home, iron a shirt, and then I thought, the greeter shirts are here. So I went and got a greeter shirt, buttoned it all up. Yes, I was planning on looking like this with the experience right on my chest. I must wash it, iron it, return it. And so yesterday, I did a memorial service for a guy that I met but didn't know. I'm gonna tell you, it was the coolest thing. And what's cool about it is I was trying to be all pastorally. I dressed up in my suit, my wedding and funeral suit. They're very similar. I go, well, that would have to sit for a while before they caught that.
The suit is the same, not the wedding and the funeral.
Well, there's similarities there too. Heightened emotion, if you will.